Welcome to Mr. Holloway's Foundational Java Skills series. In this video, we're going to talk about looping through an array. But before we get started, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And class is now in session. Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about looping through an array. So I have two caveats here. The first one is if you don't know what a loop is. Second one is if you don't know what an array is, I would suggest going back to my previous videos because I'm not going to go over those specifically. So I will put those links in the comments. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to loop through an array. Now, loops in general are very helpful. Coming here, if you see a playlist, you see on Netflix, Spotify, Pandora, whatever it is, if you see some sort of list that looks like this, there's probably a loop involved. Now, it's probably not an array, but they're taking data from a database and they're looping through it and they're displaying it on a screen like this. And so this is generally what's used for a playlist or something like that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a formal loop, but there's some sort of function that's iterating through some data that gets you this. All right, let's create an array first. So I'm going to do an array of ints and I'm going to call it my array. And I'm going to just initialize the values right away. So I'm just going to fill it up. Let me see. Okay, so it doesn't matter. All right. Now, what I want to do is I want to print all of these out. Now, if we didn't have an array, we'd have to do this. So if I'd have to do system.out.println, and we'd have to do my array, and I'd have to give it the index. And then you can see how this can get old real fast. So I'd have to do this, and I'd have to do it for each item. So I would have to do one. I'm not going to do all of them. So that'd be 2, 3, and 4. That would be 1. All right, so I'm going to print the first 5, and we're going to run this, and it's just going to print up to index 4, so up to 7 right here, because I didn't feel like just printing everything out. All right, now there's a way we can solve this, and we solve it with using a loop, a for loop specifically. So what I want to do is just get rid of this, and we're going to do a skeleton of a loop first. So I'm going to say for, do my opening and closing curly brackets. I'll bring this down here, and I'll just place this right here for now. So that's my do something. And so now we're going to make our for loop. I'm going to say x is equal to 0. And I'm going to do two things here. I'm going to say as long as x is less than, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so as long as it's less than 8, I'm going to say x plus plus. Okay, now basically as long as this is less than 8, because there's 8 items in the for loop, it's going to print out every single item. So let's do it. The only thing we need to do here is change this to x, and so when we run this, we should have every item printed out in this array. And there it is. All right, now what if I added an item? So let's say I added 12 right to the list. Let's add 2 more. All right, so we're adding 2 more items to this. Well, we've added 2 more items, so now we have 9 or 10 items in the list, but we're saying x is less than 8. So when we run this, we're going to have a slight problem. We're not going to get everything that we want. Now, there's a quick way to fix it, but let me just demonstrate this. This is not going to be very flexible because we have to go in, and what we're doing is we're hard coding this in here, which is not what we want to do in this case. So as you can see, it prints out up to 10, but we're still missing these items. So instead of doing this, what we really want to do is we want to say, instead of saying 8, we want to say as long as x is less than my array dot, length. We're going to use the length property. And what the length property is going to do, it's going to basically just take the length of the array. So it becomes a lot more flexible. We could have 50 items, we could have 1,000, we could have 1,000,000. It doesn't matter. As long as we have this, we're able to print out all of the items in the array. So let's try it. All right, so as you can see, we get all of the items in the array. I can add more. Doesn't really matter because it's going to take the length of the array using the array property. So let's run this again. And we're going to see that this provides a lot more flexibility over just doing some number. X is less than 8 or 10, or even just having to manually count what's in here, because this is not going to be a big problem with an array because array is not resizable. But when we get into array list, it's going to be a little bit different. So this is going to be really important. But either way, this is what you want to use when you're looping through an array. Okay, so that concludes this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video where we're going to use a enhanced for loop, also more popularly known as a for each loop, or instead of a for loop. All right, we'll cover that in the next video. Class is now dismissed.